continue láti make sure pé àwa ìran ọmọ aládé we get the hell out of the mess tí àlọ́kóra wa sí, cause mess gidi la wà nínú ẹ̀. Ẹni tó bá sọ pé a wà nínú ìlú, we're in a complete mess. So a dẹ̀ gbọ́dọ̀ get out quickly kó tó di pé ọlọ́mọ ẹ̀ ká kábàámọ̀ ẹ̀ pé kí la wá dé Nàìjíríà. Àwọn ọmọ àlè tó dẹ̀ fi wá síbẹ̀, àwọn ò fẹ́ ká lọ jókòó sínú Nàìjíríà tó ṣiṣẹ́ fún yàn kankan. Àmì ìnà olówó máa rówó, àwọn tálákà nìkan ló máa complain. So a ti ń palẹ̀ mọ́ láti tú ìtàmọ̀ táwa mọ̀ ṣe lélẹ̀, ká fi mídíà ká fi polongo fún àgbáyé atrocity tí Nigerian government ń commit lójoojúmọ́. An atrocity yẹn ọ̀dẹ̀ ní tán, àwa la máa jẹ́ kó tán. So yẹn kan bá rò pé yẹn kan bọ̀ wá help yín, wasting your time. Àwọn tó ní àwọn fẹ́ gba freedom ló máa jà fún láti gbà. Yẹn kankan wá help anybody. Bàbá dúró de àgbáyé kankan, wọ́n máa fi wá ta lúdò káàkiri ni. Nàìjíríà dẹ̀ máa exist. Wọ́n dẹ̀ máa sọ fún wa pé ká ṣe sùúrù, pé ká lọ máa dìbò. Ṣé bọ́ ṣe ń dìbò l'Amẹ́ríkà là ń dìbò yẹn ní Nàìjíríà burúkú tí a wà nù ẹ̀? Ṣé bọ́ ṣe ń dìbò l'Amẹ́ríkà ni? Ṣé báwọn Amẹ́ríkà ṣe ń dìbò làwa ń dìbò yẹn? Jẹ́ kí yàn kan máa parọ́ fún yín. À ń sọ fún yín pé ká get the hell out of Nigeria. Tàbá ní ká get out, àwọn kan ní náà ẹja dúró ká jẹ́ kí àwọn politician olórí burúkú tí yẹ kí wọ́n máa fún lépè lójoojúmọ́. Ṣé àwọn politician yẹn ṣé kò yẹ kí wọ́n máa fún yín lépè? Àwọn kọ́ ló jẹ́ káyé yín bàjẹ́ nísìn. School rẹ̀ ẹ̀ rí lọ. Ayé gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà ló ti ta báyìí. Ṣé mi ni àti bàbá Akíntóyè àti Ìgbòho ṣáwa la jẹ́ káyé yín ta? Ìbá àwọn politician tẹ̀ ń dìbò fún láti almost how many years nísìn, wọ́n ní anything láti offer anybody. Àwọn wèrè politician yẹn, àwọn olè, wọ́n ti báyé jẹ́. Sọ gbogbo yín di sọ ẹni tó ní gan kò ní mọ́. Business rẹ̀ ẹ̀ lè ṣe nothing, kò sí nǹkan kan tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ nílùú yẹn. Ẹ wá ń gbàdúrà, àdúrà ò lẹ́ ń gbà. Ẹ ń gbàdúrà sí ìlú tó ṣiṣẹ́. Ẹ ń gbàdúrà sí ìlú tó ṣiṣẹ́. Ṣáàdúrà ni nǹkan ni wọ́n máa ń gbà lágbàáyé tí ìlú fi ń ṣiṣẹ́. Àwa ń gbàdúrà, àní àdúrà ọ̀dà. Ṣáàdúrà ni wọ́n fi ń ṣe ayé. Ṣáàdúrà ni UK fi ń operate. Mad people all over the place. A máa ní Nàìjíríà máa dà lágbára Ọlọ́run. Irọ́ tẹ pamọ́ Ọlọ́run títí náà ló ń lọ níwájú yẹn. Mo máa ń ṣe nìyẹn. Irọ́ tẹ pamọ́ Nàìjíríà títí. Òun ni gbogbo àwọn kò tó ń lọ níwájú yẹn. Ẹ parọ́ mọ́ Nàìjíríà títí. Ọlọ́run máa ṣe. Ọlọ́run yẹn ló máa ṣe òun la jókòó tì láti 1960. Ọlọ́run wá jẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí alábòsí bíi tiwa. Ṣalábòsí lọ́lọ́run tá à ń parọ́ mọ́ Ọlọ́run lójoojúmọ́. Ọlọ́run máa ṣe. Ọlọ́run máa tún Nàìjíríà ṣe. Ọlọ́run máa jẹ́ kí Nàìjíríà dà. ṣé ọlọ́run á jẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí alábòsí ṣalábòsí lọ́lọ́run gbàdá padà sí ṣalábòsí ni ọlọ́run tẹ́ ń sọ pé ọlọ́run máa ṣe ọlọ́run máa ṣe o ọlọ́run máa ṣe o ṣọlọ́run á jẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí alábòsí bíi tiwa tí gbogbo èèyàn fi ọlọ́run tẹ́ fi ọlọ́run fi parọ́ fún gbogbo aráàlú wọ́n pa àwọn èèyàn wọ́n pààyàn lójoojúmọ́ ojoojúmọ́ ló ń pààyàn ojoojúmọ́ ní nǹkan kan ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ wá ń parọ́ mọ́ lọ́hùn àwa wí tán ẹ wá máa ṣẹnu pàṣàpàṣà sí bàbá Akíntóyè ẹ máa ṣẹnu pàṣàpàṣà sí Ìgbòho ṣáà la bà Nàìjíríà jẹ́ mad people all over the place ẹ parọ́ mọ́ lọ́hùn ṣọ́nà wọn jẹ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí alábòsí ẹ jẹ́ reduce kìíní ó dáhùn pé kò jẹ́ kí kọ́ni máa ti join wọn ní sí wọn nílé máa tọ́ọ̀chì gbogbo kìíní yẹ kó wà àgbà ẹja rẹ̀ ẹ parọ́ mọ́ lọ́hùn títí òun ló ń lọ níwájú yẹn nísìn ọlọ́run á fi gbogbo ara ẹ̀rìn ó ní máa wà àwọn mùgùn mú ẹ ń dìbò fáwọn tí ẹ mọ̀ pé wọ́n ní ṣe nǹkan kan weapon ló ń kó káàkiri intelligent níṣẹ́ sọ fún mi nísìn weapon tí gọ́ọ̀mẹ̀ntì ti kó wọlé ojoojúmọ́ ló ń kó weapon wọlé wọ́n ò dẹ̀ rí weapon yẹn fi pa Boko Haram kọlùkọlù kó má lọ múra sílẹ̀ dáadáa ẹ rò pé nǹkan tó easy la fi ṣe ni ẹ rò pé yàn kan fún yàn ní freedom lọ́fẹ̀ẹ́ ni ní Amẹ́ríkà a máa fi wá ṣe statistics ni èbí Buhari ló ti invite ní sí pé kó máa bọ̀ lamẹ́ríkà dead or alive 3 boys and 8, 10 and 11 have died after falling into a lake wow ní London lọ́dọ̀ wa níbí báyìí lánàá òtútù tó ń mú ó kọjá bẹ́ẹ̀ gbogbo àná báyìí inú snow làwà wọn kò ṣàánú wa wọ́n ẹ káwá darapọ̀ mọ́ studio jàre lọ discuss nípa ìlú jágbàjàgbà ìlú tó ti bá yé ara ẹ̀ jẹ́ sí nǹkan kan tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ olúkálukú wa wọ́n gbàdúrà sọ́lọ́run ọlọ́run wá stupid máa parọ́ mọ́ ọlọ́run.
And every one of you, whichever is your patronage, and we will be bringing you Mr. Olayomiko in a moment. Yes, like I said earlier, to all the presenters on Starr Radio UK, we salute you. We salute you. Mr. Ned West, good morning to you. KB Bossman, Vicky Newton, Nanette Yasawara Koto, Empress Vision Anima, good morning to you all, and I hope you're all doing very good. But it is my singular honor to introduce to you the White Lion himself after a very, let me call it a long weekend. A day is very long to us, so when we have a weekend, we say that it's a long one. But Yomi, massive good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Good morning to all our listeners and viewers from around the world. Good morning to all our other presenters, the sound engineer, and welcome once again to Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London.
Yes. How are you, and how has the weather affected your movement today?
Well, yesterday was just one of those beautiful days that the children love when they see, the weather. And just as you were mentioning the weather, this is what it looks like, last night at the back of the house. And that means, again, I have to make sure that the heating continue to operate non-stop. It's been a long time that we've seen, such a view, depending on whether you're driving, and I can see that you are well packed, in your own body right there in the studio. But I can say that the weather does not stop us from moving. We continue, the children still need to go to school. And that is what means that we don't rely on prayer to make sure that the roads are well, properly. Even though we know the M25, some of the images I saw yesterday must have get them caught up. But I'm sure by this morning, those driving through the M25 will be driving, in a very safe road network. But compared to Nigeria, where yesterday again, and also no, yesterday and Saturday, when you look at some of the road network coming out of Nigeria, especially in Ondo State, where you have bitumen that is the largest deposit in the world, but yet all the road network continue to be waiting for prayer from our government to fix them.
Well, we will pray, but God has given us everything that we need, and yet we are so poor. We are not using it. What do you think? Well, listeners, it's all coming your way from Starr in the UK. Mr. Olayomi again at North London Studios. I'm actually here in the South Studios, and we are bringing you the morning show updates from Nigeria. But let me acknowledge Oluola. Yes, says good morning. How is everybody? Everyone is doing very well, and Nigeria save lives. And then he says, good morning, Koiki. Now, Prince Abimbola, massive good morning to you. So, Mr. Archie and White Lion, good morning as well. The listeners, he says, Happy New Week. And Olola says, hello, Archie. Yes, hello, Olola. Thanks for joining us once again. But it is update from Nigeria, and let's crack on. Now, we have Blinken. A few weeks ago, we had the Americans saying that, well, there was some insecurity issues that were going on. They didn't link it to whether it was a religious one, but they were saying there were some insecurities in the country. They labeled the federal capital as a particular place where there was imminent attack. They predicted that there was going to be an imminent attack. Well, the authorities came to, say that wasn't true, blah, blah, blah. So far, so good. We've not heard anything of the sort. But something that happened in the north, especially when it comes to Christians or religion in the north, we see that there is always that side of the Sharia that is trying to overrule everything that people are doing. And therefore we see various attacks in the north. I don't want to be talking too much, but recently when that lady, one of the students, made a remark in the north, she was stoned to death because they said because of the Sharia law, whatever went on in the campus. But for Blinken, the Americans to come now to say that they've taken Nigeria from that list makes it quite worried because we've not seen any improvement. Is it because Buhari has had a word with them or what? Yomi.
Well, and that is the Deborah Yakubu. She was actually lynched and burned to death, right in Sokoto, on the 12th of May this year. Her death sparked quite a little bit of concern again to the injustice that have been patel on not just the Christians, also Muslims in Nigeria. I mean, when the story of Deborah came, and in as much as Atiku was interviewed yesterday, just to branch into that, because Atiku actually put a post on the Twitter as at the time and removed that tweet as well. And people were a little bit worried that, what was the reason behind that. Atiku condemns the killing of the young Deborah Samuel for alleged blaspheming. And yesterday, the presidential candidate of the People Democratic Party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, condemned again the murder of Deborah Samuel, a young student of Shehu Shagari College of Education. Also, do you know that the young boy that we were actually also protecting here on the studio for speaking against the wife of President Muhammadu Buhari,
yeah.
Do you also know that he was putting on an outfit that says nobody should protest against the killing of Deborah?
Oh, wow.
And this is the kind of society that we actually found ourselves. There is no unity, there is no love. And that's the young boy right there. He was actually captured in a tweet that had an outfit that says, the killing of Deborah, nobody should protest against that. So that means he was probably happy with the death of an innocent young girl. Now, the question this morning that you've asked is, pertaining to what has been picked up. As we know, within the next 24 hours, Buhari has left to the United States of America yesterday. A lot of African leaders will be in America for what we call the U.S. African Leaders Summit. It's a way for the American government to reassure, the Africa and some of the values, which I discussed this morning when I was actually having an address to some of our listeners. The U.S. African Leaders Summit is expecting to, we build on the shared value, foster new economic engagement, advance peace and security and good governance, reinforce commitment to democracy, human rights, civil society. I don't know whether you have human rights in Ghana, but there's nothing of such in Nigeria. Civil society is not there. Democracy is not there. Work collaborative to strengthen the region and global health security. Promote food security, which is a bit of concern to a lot of Nigerians today because of the insecurity that will link me back to the story that we're actually talking about. Respond to the climate crisis. Amplify the diaspora tie. Morocco and Nigeria is the biggest remittance back to Africa, which again, Morocco, during their celebration did not talk about Africa. They actually was more of talking about, this qualification is for the Arabs. So you can, and again, one of their, footballer came back to say, oh, I forgot that we're Africa, so that means again, this qualification is for Africa. Promote education and youth. And Nigeria students were out of school for 8 months. So I was actually looking at Linda Edward. Linda Edward is a social justice reporter, based, in New York. And, since the American government would also be expecting a lot of African leaders, and most important, like they said, the most populous black nation in Africa, Nigeria, it now says the U.S. African Summit, Nigerian persecution of religious minority to debate. Years ago, Bush was angered, the baptism watchdog by removing Iraq from the list as Iraq Christians were murdered daily. Conservative Hudson Institute, Great Nina Shed confronted Bush. But what we are now saying now is Blinken, the American government, have actually said Christian groups are now furious that the Nigerians have been removed from one of those countries that is against, these religious violence. Do we now say that Nigeria is no longer a country to be worried about when it comes to religious violence? But like we talked about earlier, just less than some few months ago, the young Deborah was literally not just lynched, she was burned, and we could see somebody with a machete saying, saying that, they're happy, for burning out, even though she was, pleading for her life. So Christian groups in the United States of America have now, Christian groups, a U.S. government panel, and a former senior U.S. diplomat are very furious over the Secretary of State, a very important person in American government, Joe Biden, Anthony Blinken, decision to take Nigeria off a list of countries accused of engaging in or tolerating religious persecution. Blinken's decision was actually revealed only last week, just before he visited Nigeria, Africa's most populous country, which a lot of people have disagreed with that anyway, and where Muslim-Christian tensions have long flared. According to the State Department official, have given no reason for the move other than saying Blinken, upon the advice of various department sections, decided Nigeria didn't meet the legal threshold to be named as a country of particular concern. Starr Radio UK, it is your finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. From here in the studio in London, let me come back again to you, back in the studio on the other side.
Well, this particular decision by the U.S. will have some reprisal effect on a lot of things that is going on in Nigeria at the moment. I'm not digressing, but I'm looking at the situation. I'm looking at what the Yorubas are saying. I'm looking at what those in the Southeast are saying. So that with everything that is going on, now we all saw what was happening in the North pertaining to religious atrocities that was going on. We saw the death of Deborah as well, which is quite fresh. And now that the U.S. are saying, oh, with all that is going on, it's okay, nothing has happened. Yeah, the NSAS one and everything. They say that the rate at which things are happening are not going to a point where Nigeria should still be placed in that position where you say that, well, there is religious intolerance there. Atrocities that has been committed to, groups in the country. So how do you think this is going to impact the Yoruba agitation, and then the IPOP agitation, or the Biafra agitation as well?
Well, Yes, you're quite right, and a lot of the indigenous people, and as I was addressing the United States government this morning in a 1 hour broadcast, giving them the background, to some of the issues, that was faced, during the Soviet Union, during the Yugoslavia, where, as at the time there was more of the ethnic tension. The problem in Nigeria has nothing to do with religious, tension. What we are saying is, the indigenous people that are not being given the same equal rights, as we know presently, in Nigeria. And the Islamization of Nigeria is still an agenda that a lot of individuals have talked about, which I was able to play in that video. And when we look at these all issues, I'm just going back to persecution in Nigeria in the last 3 weeks. Bishop gives harrowing report on religious persecution. This is one of the headlines 3 weeks ago. Stop killing Christians. Biden admit it with massive, petition. With Christian persecution raging in Nigeria, more than 33,000 people have signed a petition imploring Joe Biden government that have actually now removed Nigeria from that, line of a country of concern. Nigeria Muslims rally to protect persecution of the Shias, which is another area there. Again, 3 weeks ago, address Christian persecution lest Nigeria is overrun. So let's take a look at what one of the bishops was actually saying. The Most Reverend Jude Arogundade of the Catholic Bishop of Ondo State. Let us remember that it was a very terrible one when the killings of innocent Christians. They were not literally just Yorubas. There were different groups of people. We have the Igbo and the other that were in that particular church during that massacre. In Ondo State. But this is what he said November 17, according to the report here. The bishop gave the following keynote address entitled "The Ongoing Ethno-Religious Persecution in Nigeria. Scale the barriers of defining silence" in the House of Parliament yesterday at the launch of Aid to Nigeria, Aid to the Church in Need, the last report. On the Pentecost Sunday of June 5, 2022, St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, joined the list of churches in Nigeria that have been viciously attacked by the terrorist Fulanis, whose bloody carnage has increased in the past year. Why has the U.S. government, at this particular junction where the indigenous people are calling, for the dissolution of Nigeria, while those that still believe in Nigeria, is there something that we don't know? And this is where the Christian group in America again are saying this is a wrong move, and there's now critiques, however, are calling Blinken move politically designed to appease an important African partner. One former diplomat called it the revenge of bureaucracy at the State Department. Others question how it fits with the Biden administration claim that human rights lies at the center of its foreign policy.
Well, listeners, it is Starr in the UK. Was it how many? I think sometime last week when we had the DSS, the boss of the DSS, saying that they're not going to be tolerating any human rights thing, blah blah blah. I think we all remember that story. But well, we'll be coming to that. Olola says that, well, you know what? He says whatever has happened is because of money. Some people have gone to take some money and might have written some nice reports to say that everything is fine, and that is what is causing that. Now, Ruth says that, good morning, Mr. Koiki, lots of hearts, and thumbs up to you, and dance. Oh, okay. Now, what you want to say is, good morning, Mr. Archie and Koiki, and everyone on the platform as well. Olola says, the Lord has now got oil. So let us all go our separate ways. So if there's the fear was that, look, if those in the south decide to go, they will not have the oil to maybe fund their wealth or whatever their lifestyle. He said, well, down the north seem to have got oil, so let them use that oil there and let everybody go their separate ways. But what do you think? We want to have a take on what you think. It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Okay, now moving on to some other stories making the rounds. APC is trying to get Rufai Osheni and Dr. Rubin Abati sacked by Arise TV. However, the media group has released a statement telling the APC that it will never, or that will never happen. Now, Rufai Oseni, I thought that it was, when I saw it at first, well, I thought it was El Rufai. So I said, is El Rufai doing some presentation work now? But it's not El Rufai, it is Rufai, different one. All right, now, can you give us some background to that story, please?
Rufai is one of the presenter on one of the mainstream media back in Nigeria. I remember, the APC Bola Tinubu campaign team were not happy with so many of the medias in Nigeria, like somebody like him that is very, very bold and outspoken. So what they've done is they've literally gone behind to tell the owner of Arise TV that we can mention because already in the public domain, to sack Rufai and Ruben Abati. Imagine, this is the same government. I mean, this is the same. Government that they've that is in power, and also a new one that is campaigning. And imagine if Tinubu becomes, the president. Only God knows, what would be freedom of speech in Nigeria. I mean, we thought Buhari was a very terrible one, by banning, Twitter, and just as you say, and there was a response back, to the DG of the DSS. You are not above the law. Ruler kicks after the Nigerian Secret Police DSS boss knock human rights advocacy. But the question is, what could have warranted, Alake and Ononuga to go quietly behind the scene to try to tell the owner of this TV station to remove these two individuals, because they are not happy with some of their, conversation around the Tinubu campaign. So the This Day and Arise News Board of Editors stated this in a joint statement titled Tinubu and This Day Arise Media Group and the Attack on Free Speech. They are also noted out of envy and pettiness the continuous attack on the chairman and editor-in-chief Prince Induka by both Alake and Ononuga. The editors pointed out that in at least 4 separate press statements and interviews in the last 3 weeks, Ononuga and Alake, instead of responding to issues or sending petitions to the organization, ombudsman, have variously accused the group of bias against the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and they are wrong. Truth and pursuit thereof and their reporting of fact is no basis. The duo has taken unprofessionalism, recklessness, politics, and blackmail to a new art form. After the first statement, we ignore them, but utter a second statement, which again ignore. So you can tell that Tinubu campaign team are probably, now trying to gag, some of the medias against, the will of, the ethics of journalism.
Well, if you criticize them, they will come and find you and make sure that you are sacked. But is that the way forward? It's called freedom? Well, you have to be, if you want to go into this political whatever arena to make your move or make a stand, then you have to be prepared for criticism, because that comes. Everybody has got a say, because that is democracy, isn't it? Well, when we talk about democracy, in this part of the world, it's different from what we see in our part of the world, because somebody who has got power thinks that they can wield their power over you and the court, and it cannot give you the justice that you want. So what do? Well, if the court gives justice and authorities listen to it, we won't have Nnamdi Kanu still being in incarceration, and we won't have Chief Sunday Igboho still being outside after a court has ruled that even his edifice should be, they should pay for the destruction that they caused there. But what do you think? It's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. 11:29, the time almost 11:30, and we are bringing you updates from Nigeria. Let's look at one other story, and then I can leave the whole thing for Mr. Olaibiko to do the presentation of the rest of the troops of the Nigerian army have reportedly invaded a Bigo community in the Ishelu local government area of Iboyi. Now, why have they invaded? Are they going after, first of all, why is Iboyi, for the sake of those who don't know where Nigeria well, and then who are they going after?
Well, when you look at the, the map behind me, Ebonyi is just part of the the southeast of Nigeria. And yes, we know that there's a sit at home that has been going on since Friday, but it seems that prior before that, the military, in disguise of looking for the unknown gunmen or the innocent Igbo people that are campaigning for their right to self-determination, rather than looking for the terrorist Fulanis that are killing and massacring so many communities around the southeast and likewise the southwest. Panic as the Nigerian soldiers have invaded the Ebonyi community, burned houses, and also different atrocity that is going on. The Nigerian army have reportedly invaded Ogbagu community in a local government area of Ebonyi State. Some of the community leaders who spoke, this morning say the troops who invaded the community around 5 a.m. Had been shooting sporadically and, also burned some houses. The soldiers were said to have entered the community with 10 Hilux bus vehicles, which is their mode of transportation, and also 7 armor tanks with over 100 military personnel. It was not clear why the military invaded the community. However, nobody, the question then is the southeast part of Nigeria at war, with the Nigerian government? Literally not, but it seems that the Nigerian government is using all its resources to continue to not just oppress, also genocide going on in that particular region. And their governors are not doing as much as saying out a lot. Neither are the House of Representatives and their senators as well. So it seems that the whole idea is, since Nnamdi Kanu has been kept in the custody of the DSS since last year, almost a year ago, when he was renditioned and kidnapped back to Nigeria, he has been acquitted. And just as yesterday, I saw the former president Segun Obasanjo and the leader of the Yoruba Social Cultural Group, Afenifere, were all in Enugu, where the death of Iwobodo, and they were also still talking about the the release of Nnamdi Kanu. So there's a tension, there's no doubt about that, in the southeast part of Nigeria today. But is it going with the military, to continue, to create this havoc will solve the problem? These are some of the questions I did put out to the U.S. government as this summit goes out tomorrow, that the situation in Nigeria needs a lot of dialogue, and it should not be left without being looked into before chaos, anarchy, uncivil rest continue in Nigeria, should the international community shy away from the reality on the ground.
Now, listen, let's start already, UK. Now, Yami, the 3-day sit-at home that has gone on, what has been the impact so far? Do you know?
Well, it's been, both sides. Some have actually defied it, and continue to go around, their businesses. We've seen, where it has become a little bit tense, where the situation is, why should we sit at home, and we'll give that order, because some disregard that order that is actually coming, from, Nnamdi Kanu himself, even though the spokesman for the, IPOB, believe that that is part of the way to bring in civil disobedience, by not confronting the Nigerian government, but by sitting at home. But let us remember that as a country, this is where people feed on a daily basis. But at some point, according to the IPOB and the Biafrans believe that since they haven't got what it takes to to engage the Nigerian government, they can also use the civil disobedience to bring the attention of not just the Nigerian government, to come into what their demands are, for an exit out of Nigeria. And moreover, if the part of Nigeria does not believe in the Southeast, then there's no need for them to continue. That is still one section, by the time the Yorubas are coming out, which we have been told that it's going to be not just a day or 2 days, we would then see part of what we are not really seeing in the Southeast being talked about. Because when it comes to the Southwest, remember that Lagos State is a hub. And should the question I asked yesterday, what would happen should less movement paralyze of the whole Lagos state to Ogun state, which is one of the industrial hub in the southwest, going to Oyo state. What should happen 72 hours if there's not such movement in the southwest? What would be the reaction of the government then?
It's going to be an interesting one if that happens, because lots of money will be lost in a day, talk less than 3 days. But it is already UK. All that says that is why Tinubu's role in Nigeria is shameful. That means talking about his party going to tell Arise TV to sack these two journalists there because they are speaking against him or critiquing him. Now, Aziz Benazari says, good morning, Brother Koiki, the ambassador. Good morning to you, Mr. Archie. Well done. Well done to you, Aziz. Thank you very much for joining us. But it is already UK, 11:35 the time. It's from Nigeria. Let's go back to Yomi for the rest of the stories. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. As we continue, to experience, that blitz of cold, that have dropped on us here in UK, we continue to also tell our elderly ones, especially here in the United Kingdom and other countries where snow is now, falling, to keep the house warm, especially for those that have children and as well. World Cup, Buhari hails Morocco for qualifying. Anti-corruption group advocate for life imprisonment as well. Brain drain as 140 medical personnel resign at Babcock Teaching Hospital. That is a staggering amount of number there. The Director of Clinical Services and Training of Babcock University Teaching Hospital, Ilesan in Remo, in Ogun State, southwest of Nigeria today, Dr. Titus Oyedele, has expressed concern over the issue of brain drain in Nigeria, saying already about 50 of his doctors, 90 of his nurses have resigned to seek greener pasture abroad. Oyedele, who disclosed this over the weekend while talking journalists on a tour of the institution facility, blamed the issue of brain drain, popularly known as Japa, on leadership failure and having people in position who do not believe in the healthcare system, like President Muhammadu Buhari, that half of his time, in this particular last couple of days, to his government coming out of existence of the power that they've grabbed in 2015 that they wanted to, he has not spent a day looking after himself in Nigeria. Most of the time is here in the United Kingdom taking care of himself. So let's go back to one or two more headlines. Today is the 12th of December 2022 at 11:37 time spent so far. After that, we'll take straight to the social media as well. Soludo, we are moving to secure Anambra people during this Christmas. Peter Obi was in Ibadan to visit Olubadan to get the royal endorsement as well. Don't be carried away by rallies. Okoti warns Nigeria. It seems that the political party rally is where people think that they can get a bread, they can get some, granite, or probably some 5,000, 1,000, depending on who you know in the rally center. And it seems the same people that visit the same Labour Party, or probably not, but those that visit APC will also be clamoring to go to a APC or go to PDP rally as well. But according to as the political parties and their candidates embark on massive campaign activities for the 2023 interim government, campaigner Reverend Chris Okoti has warned Nigerians not to get carried away by the crowd they see at political rallies, saying this does not truly reflect the political realities in the country. Okoti, in a statement that was signed by his media advisor Ladi Ayodeji, said the presence of the mixed multitude at campaign rallies is no indication that the presidential candidate enjoys the support of the people. We do know most of them have been paid, to attend those rallies, just as they were paid when they were also bringing them as the Christian leaders to present it to Nigeria. And then later on, after that, people were already sharing money at the car park. He explained that some people attend this rally purely out of curiosity, to catch a glimpse of the political leaders or to be part of the action. Okote, who is promoting his Aboriginal democracy agenda as an alternative on the current system of government, said crowd renting is mainly responsible for the crowd we see at rally, which is why sometimes the people are found at different rallies. Wow, that is Nigeria for you. Arise TV is trending, and the reason for that is it seems that Tinubu campaign team would like two of the journalists on that particular morning show to be taken out, so that would then also help them. Simon Ekpa seems to be the one trending throughout the whole weekend from Friday up till right now at about 43,000. There's been a lot of report around him that his sit at home is something that the American government, the Finland government, and the world must look into, because it's actually creating a lot of insecurity in the Biafra land. But that is something that a lot of people disagree with. That is also showed that we can't show the video, but right in front of me, it says, according to Simon Ekpa, why the Fulani Nigerian government terrorists have perfected their plan to play the Taliban template, which worked very well in Afghanistan. Someone Nigeria in dissentis are busy trending Simon Ekpa on Twitter. We have defeated them in Biafra land, and in any place we hear that they invaded. And right there in that image video, we can show some Fulani terrorists with all sort of weapons right there as well. So that again, let's take some other ones. Tomorrow we will be engaging the Finland embassy in Nigeria and report Simon Ekpa. Many people died yesterday because of this tweet. Here is the Finland embassy in Abuja. I'm sure like a lot of indigenous people will say that the problem in Nigeria is not Simon Ekpa. The problem is the 1914 amalgamation that the British brought in together. Ifa Funshaw says, and I quote, in one of the tweets as well, as we would be going straight into our tweet this morning. As a man, you should not be thinking of boobs and the other ones. You should be thinking of revolution or war. This is coming from him as well. The Northern Africans know their history better than the West African. I don't know why you'll be dragging identity with those who identify themselves as Arabs, which again is the Morocco issue. Will you say the same thing to those white in the South Africa as Africans? Quite a lot in there to take in this morning. And the last one we're going to be looking at is Nigeria as a whole, as a lot is going on. David Odonye, they ask yourself why Induka, Origimo, and BBC Africa were so invested in propagating what was such an obvious lie back in January. As we do know, David Odonye is an investigative journalist that is also had to run away from Nigeria for his own life being secure somewhere. Let's take a look at Neferati, one of the supporters of it. My people, we are voting Labour Party. Kawa, vote for Labour Party candidate across board. We are taking over Nigeria. Vote Labour Party from top to bottom. No time for nonsense. Peter Obi and David Baba. We all need the maximum support. And from the Yoruba as well, before we go, quite a lot of different engagement over the weekend from Akoko, where those that took the rally down to Ifo here in Ogun State, and so many engagement from some of our leaders as well, from the Global Directorate that actually held their 93rd Town Hall meeting that were actually looking into the Yoruba anthem and explanation. Also, one of our leaders, also Iba Gani Adams, currently in Brazil, continue the engagement. And this morning, the first call that came this morning was from our leader, all the way from Benin Republic, Professor Banji Akintoye, that was just a little bit concerned that he hasn't heard from me for a very long time. And he just wanted to say a very good morning. And I did catch up with him while he was having his breakfast. We spoke for just about 5 or less minutes of that. And it was just again, let's continue the good work in promoting our right, peaceful right to self-determination. And that actually came, as the first caller on Monday morning to start the week, and from the leader of the Yoruba Self-Determination Group to myself.
Wow, that was a good one. And we said that may God grant him more life and wisdom as well. Because we want to lead things like that, you need the wisdom of God to do it. Okay, Ruth says Nigeria is 419 and dead. No more Nigeria. Lola says Yoruba has no plan. Wow. Well, someone who may differ with that, Lola. Maybe there's a plan there, but the leaders will tell you exactly what is going on that front. But it is Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, before you go, what was the weekend campaign for the various parties like?
Well, as I speak to you right now, Atiku have just arrived, in Nasarawa, where they continue, their campaign, to rescue Nigeria, from the APC. Tinubu campaign is not much. An article was also in Abuja over the weekend, so it seems he's been very, very busy while Tinubu team are trying to remove some of the journalists on the mainstream media. The Labour Party, like I said, was actually in Ibadan, in Oyo State, where the Labour Party, Peter Obi, was also engaging there. So quite a lot of engagement continue to go on, but the Yorubas, a lot of them have continued to have round conversation on the last part of this month, where we've been told that the rally will be held. And just to pick up again, African Confidential on Twitter say, instead of Nigerians to worry about trying to save themselves from the shackles of Nigeria that they were kept in by the Britain, they want to save Nigeria for the people it was designed to benefit. Their politicians, they bond Nigerians up with their oppressor leaders is just unbreakable.
Wow, listeners, start with you, UK. And I will plead with the leadership of the Yoruba nation as well to come up with a statement, because I say it all the time, when the vacuum is created, the speculation goes on. Because Olula thinks that Baba Akintoye called Yomi because he defended him on the program yesterday. But that's why I'm saying that when there's a vacuum created, then people will just start speculating. I mean, rumors will just start going around. Yomi, I thought that you wanted to respond to that.
Well, I mean, like I always say, everybody have the right, to what they like to say, and if that is the right that I was defending him, it is my job to defend an 87-year-old man that wants the identity of the Yoruba people to remain as against the nepotism, the subjugation that the other political party like Tinubu that would like to take us into. So yes, it is our right to make sure we continue to defend such an elderly old man.
Okay, Jaramola Amolade Olulade says, okay, yes, and then as Ruth says, thumbs up, Ruth, thank you very much. Aziz Gazari is also saying, freedom is not taken by handshake, it is taken by vast boast. Okay, and Olula says, it's real. If rally happens this year, I will give Koiki £100. Wow. Okay.
We don't need we don't need his £100. Let's just all wait for the time. So there's no need. We have more than enough £100 in our bank account.
Yes. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. It's a platform where we put our heads together. That's where we say we jaw to make sure the way forward for us all, so that we can improve our lives. I mean, we here have improved our life. What about those at home? We'll be there standing, we'll be here still fighting for them. Okay. Yes, it is Starr Radio UK. Yomi, before you go.
Stay tuned more as I'll be back again same time tomorrow. Have a very good morning. Bye for now.
Bye. All right then, listeners, it is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station.
Well, that's how far we can go this morning. Thank you so much to those of you that have joined us. We appreciate you, and we say Vitia Marimoni for this morning. I'll be back again, definitely when I'm back. For now, enjoy the rest of the day. Yes, it is my job to defend, leaders that are very, very upright, not the ones that are, not upright. So that is my job. And if you are not happy with that, you have the right to jump into the closest river close to you. Bye for now. Have a very good morning.